So as you transition into menopause, you may experience sudden weight gain and have difficulty controlling your blood sugar. This sentence speaks to me specifically. This is exactly what I experienced when I noticed it as perimenopause was starting to creep up. And this was even before I realized my estrogen levels were dropping. And then I later found out they were, after getting tests and putting all this together. But I had suddenly gained some weight around the middle and about 7-8 pounds, which was unusual for me because when you're doing all the things that you've always done and now all of a sudden it wasn't adding up. My clothes were getting tighter. Welcome to the Type 1 and Midlife podcast. My name is Melissa Slemp, a certified nutritional health coach and the founder and CEO of Abundant Health with Melissa, where I help women with type 1 diabetes to feel more empowered and live their best life despite their diagnosis. Each week, I will bring conversations and strategies from guest experts and my experience living with type 1 for over 40 years now. So if you're a woman ready to redefine how diabetes can look and feel for you, then the Type 1 and Midlife podcast is the show for you. Well, hello and welcome to my first solo episode. I am going to be periodically jumping in here and giving you a chance to learn my experience as a midlife woman managing type 1 and my approach as a health coach, specializing in helping women like you and how I work with my clients. So this is what the solo episodes will do, just to give you a better idea of who I am and what I do. And today I'm going to be talking about the best foods for balanced blood sugar and your hormones, and learn about 5 key ingredients to consider when this is something that you are needing to focus on. So if food is a tough obstacle for you now, and especially as your hormones are shifting, then what you'll hear in this episode will resonate with you. And I also invite you to come visit my type1andmidlife.com, my site. Reach out and drop me a note. I'd love to hear from you. So now listen in. And please let me know what you think. Just a reminder that nothing you hear on this Type 1 and Midlife podcast should be a substitute for professional medical advice. Please always consult your medical professional before changing your diet, insulin dosages, or healthcare plan. Aging gracefully is not easy. And aging gracefully with diabetes, boy, that takes sure will, doesn't it? If you're a woman like me, either in midlife, 40 plus, and you're trying to understand or decide on the best foods, I should say, and what type of eating plan should and could and can serve you best, to balance the blood sugar and our hormones as they shift. Sometimes it can make us feel just crazy. You know what? Because I get it. I was there too. And I am happy to say that I am now in postmenopause, and I went through quite a bit of a shift in just trying to figure this out. So I do understand, I've been managing type 1, so insulin dependent now since I was a teenager. So I am 41 years now into this journey. And along the way, believe it or not, I knew very little about food growing up, as many of us did. I was diagnosed in 1982, so not a whole lot of information out there. We couldn't find recipes or really information about this unless we got the magazines or the encyclopedia out. So information was something that was not readily available. And, now that I think of it, maybe that was a good thing, right? Because now we are inundated with information. It can be overwhelming. It's confusing. Every day you're learning a new tip, a new theory, a new way of doing it. What's going to help us? What's going to hurt us? I know it's overwhelming. I went through that same path myself, so I understand where you're at. And that is one of the biggest things that I'm hearing from clients that come to me is the confusion around, what blood sugar should be, and understanding food and what's going to affect and impact them. And, this is such a unique, not only is it a unique question, but it's a very individual question because everybody is so different. And then the stage of our life and our hormonal shifts and all of that. So, it seems like once we get it figured out, then change happens. And then we have to make another adjustment, which is kind of what diabetes is anyway, isn't it? It's just a constant adjustment. So it's almost like we're trying to hit a moving target sometimes, right? So whether you're recently diagnosed or a warrior like me, all this information, it still takes a little bit of patience to sift through and to figure out what advice really is something that you can trust and move forward with. So, and again, I do talk about that with my clients. So, and when we are working together, when I work one-on-one, so I have a couple ways to work to come together with me, and that is either in my one-on-one private coaching, and I also have a group coaching session, which is amazing. So I'll share more about that here in just a moment. But that is a chance for women who, they want a little bit more freedom or flexibility with getting the advice and the support and the accountability that I offer, but to come together with other women. So that is the sweet spot. And it is amazing when we can just kind of grow and go through these stages together. So, but one of the things, or the many things that we focus on, because it's so unique to each of us, it's our lifestyle, our age, stage of life, how much activity we have going on, and our food preferences. That's another big thing too, isn't it? Because it's definitely not a one size fits all. Managing diabetes is very unique, and it should be, and that approach should be thought that way and approached that way. So this is definitely something, if this is not a conversation you're having with your doctors, it's definitely something to bring up, that you are unique, and your carb to insulin ratio and, your basal rates and all of this, all these things that we have to consider definitely needs to be fine-tuned to your specific needs. So I encourage each of you to definitely push for this with your medical care and your medical teams. So when we look at these factors, we're trying to come up with an eating plan that'll work best for you. So again, I was just mentioning our lifestyle. So what is lifestyle, right? So lifestyle is really, it's our routine, isn't it? It's what we tend to spend a lot of time and energy doing. And that kind of builds a framework around what kind of foods we're going to be either cooking or preparing, and the other factors that kind of come on, or I should say come into our life, like our work schedule and our stress levels and our relationships at home and at work and all of that. So again, these are all things to consider. So what do we do once we get to that kind of place in time where we understand what's going on with our lifestyle and the things that we can look closer at and find a way to kind of put more of a plan and an action plan together when it comes to picking the best foods, right? So then let's do this same sort of action plan as we age. Because hormones shift, we have other factors, other things to factor in as well. And to support hormone levels throughout your reproductive cycles. And this starts obviously in the earlier years when we are still having our monthly cycles. And the changes that happen as we hit perimenopause. And again, this happens at any different age for many different women. So there is no one set time or standard for when perimenopause will approach for you, but just to be very aware of the symptoms and the signs, with not only how you're feeling, but how your blood sugar is responding. And then as we shift into menopause. So, I'm a big believer in keeping track, monitoring your numbers, monitoring your habits, not micromanaging it, but just being aware, being aware of what's going on, how you're feeling, and how your body and your blood sugar is responding. So understanding how our body works, it's real, real important. I think the sooner we can do that, the better. So when your hormones are happy, and this is the good part, because once we can figure this out and come to a happy medium with our hormone levels, and these are the reproductive hormones, so the estrogen, the progesterone, the testosterone, and even the DHEA. So when those are happy and in balance, and we can recognize that our blood sugar is easier to balance too. The body is one amazing system and it likes to be in balance. So this is something that, as a matter of fact, this is a topic that comes up quite a bit in our group coaching circle that I was just referring to. So again, I'm going to give you a chance when we close in this episode to reach out and to find out more about that group coaching. It's an amazing group of ladies that come together with these topics, especially, and we dive in and we set goals and expectations around what we can work on and do better, and then to be able to hold each other accountable. So it's in a great system that I love being able to offer to women managing type 1. So now I want to share these 5 key ingredients to consider. So in these are all things that you're aware of. These are not new things that are happening or around you. Definitely a lot of information out there online about these ingredients, these minerals, and they do impact us at any stage of our hormonal cycles, but specifically when you are managing blood sugar as well, and watching and just trying to kind of mitigate what's going on with your female hormones. So they are these 5 key ingredients, again, to support hormone levels throughout your cycles and your blood sugar every day. So at the top, we're going to talk about calcium and magnesium. So during menopause, women are at an increased risk of osteoporosis due to the loss of estrogen. So this is something that we should be aware of. And this plan includes, and I offer a eating plan that kind of bumps up against these ingredients. So I will link that here in the show notes as well. But there are certain foods that are high in bone-building minerals like calcium and magnesium. And these nutrients will help to maintain healthy bones and prevent bone loss. Really, really important. And then we move on to the second key ingredient, and that's the phytoestrogens. So the level of estrogen in the body decreases in menopause, unfortunately, but it is a natural occurrence, and it's causing the unpleasant side effects of hot flashes. That's one of the most well-known talked about symptom that we do face when those estrogen levels are starting to go down. Some research has found that phytoestrogens may help reduce hot flashes. So there's a benefit with that, which is why the foods that will be in this plan, again, attached here in this episode here, it does incorporate many phytoestrogen containing foods, including, and these are some examples, tempeh, broccoli, carrots, and sesame seeds. So those are just a few, again, to add into your eating plan, to keep in the pantry, to keep in the fridge, to keep on hand, and to make a regular part of your meals and your meal plans. So the next key ingredient is low glycemic foods. So as you transition into menopause, you may experience sudden weight gain and have difficulty controlling your blood sugar. This sentence speaks to me specifically. This is exactly what I experienced when I noticed it as perimenopause was starting to creep up. And this was even before I realized my estrogen levels were dropping. And then I later found out they were, after getting tests and putting all this together. But I had suddenly gained some weight around the middle and about 7-8 pounds, which was unusual for me because when you're doing all the things that you've always done, and now all of a sudden it wasn't adding up. My clothes were getting tighter. And I was getting a lot of those other symptoms that goes along with those hormones dropping, the moodiness, I was a little crankier than normal, and just the irritability around not only what was happening to me physically, but just the way it made me feel. And uh, the lack of energy and the will really to just kind of, find a solution for this. So it was a challenge for me as well. And again, this is due to insulin resistance, So eating the proper amount and type of carbohydrates can help balance insulin levels. And this takes time and patience with how this is going to look on your plate, and trying to find ways that maybe some certain foods that are triggering your lack of insulin response, that are making you more resistant, and the added sugars, and just to try to mitigate that, to bring these things that may be triggering this from happening, as you're transitioning through this time. So it's important to kind of look closer at what you're doing and what can be kind of crowded out with some other options. Which brings me to protein, because this is definitely something that can help all of us. And, women, as we age, we tend to not get enough quality protein. So this is something that we really have to be aware of. And during menopause, the natural decline in estrogen levels causes a loss of muscle and strength, and also bone density. So, when we're not doing that strength training and the weight bearing exercises, our bones get weaker. And then when we're not getting the protein in there to help support the muscles, this can really kind of lead to some issues. And as we were talking about earlier with the calcium and magnesium, it can lead to osteoporosis as well. So getting enough daily protein will help prevent muscle loss, help to balance your blood sugar, and maintain a healthy weight. And I talk about the balanced plate quite a bit. I know this is how I coach, and this is how I eat myself and balance my own plate. But this is really combining good whole food. So it's the complex carbs, which include fiber, adding in some protein and a healthy fat. And it's amazing how that balance not only satisfies you and fills you up, and it helps prevent blood sugar spikes. So it's just it's a wonderful formula. It's a combination of food that does work. And recommended is 25% of your calories from protein every day. And that can obviously can be broken up into breakfast, lunch, dinner, and maybe you have snacks in between, just a way to get that 25% kind of built into each meal. It can be done. It can be done. And you do feel a difference when you're able to get that bone building and muscle building protein worked into your diet. So finally, healthy fats. This is the fifth key ingredient to help support our hormones throughout your cycles and your blood sugar. So good quality fats are associated with the lower risk of both heart disease and breast cancer. So there's another added bonus there as well. Real important. This plan that I will include when you download this guide, which I will link here in the show notes, as I mentioned before, includes many sources of omega-6 and omega-3 fatty acids, including my favorite, avocado, extra virgin olive oil, trout, and chia seeds. There's so many other, things like olives are really good, and nuts and some nut butters. Those are all good sources of balanced, it also containing some protein and the healthy fats, to get all that in to include it into your meal plan. So like I mentioned, I have a free download that I will link here, and it's going to give you, included in it is going to be hormone and blood sugar balancing foods. So this is a list of foods that includes clean proteins, healthy fats, gluten-free grains, a list of some sea vegetables, some organic vegetables. And these are top of the list to help support, again, hormone levels. And resistant starches is another one too. So that's another added bonus. So it's just giving you a better idea of what to put in the shopping cart, what to bring home. And, just take it one day at a time with this. This should not be an overwhelm. This should be an easy transition. Take it maybe one meal at a time and see what you can do. It's all about just getting started. It's all about just getting started and realizing that this is important, you're important, and how you feel is important. And knowing that our hormones are going to shift. It is a natural part of life. And our insulin, which is another hormone, and living with type 1 diabetes. So, just to accept that, to realize that this is where we are and this is what we need to do, and to work with it and not against it. So, and just to final up here with this, when I started to focus more closely on what I was eating and doing every day, as I am now in postmenopause, choosing quality foods as often as possible. And I saw the change began to happen too. Again, I always considered myself to be a healthy eater, but when I really started to look closer and try to get more variety on my plate too, I think that really made a difference for me. Not only was it exciting to have more colors, all the different foods that just create a variety of just a beautiful rainbow on your plate is amazing. So I feel more confident in this stage after learning how the hormones were changing and how it was affecting my insulin needs with type 1 diabetes. And this balance in this stage and this feeling is possible for you too. So I encourage you to look at the show notes when you get done listening here and look at the links that I share in there. And please reach out. I'd love to learn where you are, what you need. What about what I shared today resonated with you? And we are doing a series with Kitty Finkley, and she is the registered dietitian who's going to be a regular guest here. And we are going to unpack all different kinds of topics around food. So visit type1andmidlife.com and leave me your thoughts or your topic ideas. We would love, love, love to hear what you need more support with and what topics you want us to bring to you here on the show. And once again, my coaching programs, there's two ways to work with me. There's one-on-one private coaching, or you can join our group coaching circle. You get a practical approach along with emotional support alongside other ladies managing type 1, a combination we all can thrive on. So click the link in the show notes to learn more and to find out how you can join us. Again, I appreciate you being here today, and I hope this topic brought value and more clarity around why certain foods are going to support you. And I hope you have a blessed and very happy day. We'll see you back here next week. Thank you for listening to the Type 1 and Midlife podcast. Head over to iTunes to subscribe, rate, and leave a review. It's very much appreciated. Thank you. And be sure to check us out at abundanthealthwithmelissa.com for our free resources. See you next week.